Hi everybody, welcome back to San Francisco. We're here in Moscone South, and you're watching theCUBE's coverage of Snowflake Summit 2026. This is our 6th year, actually 7th year if you include 2020 with COVID, covering Snowflake Summit. My name is Dave Vellante. I'm super excited to have three great guests here. Bala Kasiviswanathan is here. He's the Vice President of Developer and AI Experiences at Snowflake. And Laura Safdie is here. She's the Head of Innovation at Legal for Thomson Reuters. And as I tweeted out earlier today, my business friend Caitlin Halferty is here. She's the Head of Data and Analytics at Thomson Reuters. Folks, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on theCUBE. Awesome to see you again, Caitlin.
Thanks,
Wow.
great to be here.
Can you believe we're here at Snowflake Summit, 20,000 people.
Yes.
Amazing, the conference is jammed, it gets bigger every year, Bala.
Yeah.
So, okay, so CoWork and CoCo, formerly Snowflake Intelligence, and of course your coding tool. We want to hear more about that, but set it up in the context of Thomson Reuters and your relationship with that company.
Absolutely. First of all, very excited to be here. It's my first Snowflake Summit, and it's great to share the stage with all of you. And today it's been a great day. We announced both the Snowflake CoWork and CoCo. And the way we think about it is CoWork is for all the business users, and CoCo is for builders. And we are all about making AI real for businesses. And that's where I think the partnership with Thomson Reuters comes into play. All these tools for AI are not real until they are on a governed data platform. And Thomson Reuters is a great proof of how they spent years building that trusted governed data foundation. Over 37,000 tables, 350 databases, and that foundation allows them to do some things amazing and at a speed at which they want to innovate. But at the same time, and if you look at how they develop and deliver the products, it's gated on very responsible AI measures. And that's what we love about this partnership, which is making things not about experiment or demos or pilots, but about how do you deliver innovation in the real world at a really significant pace.
So thank you for that, Bala. So Caitlin, you're up on stage today with Christian. I also tweeted out, get ready for the energy from the highly caffeinated Colombian Christian Kleinerman, right? His energy is just amazing. You can't help but be excited when you're up there with him. But you had this concept of fiduciary grade.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Yeah, great question. So if you think about the professionals that we serve, they're lawyers, tax accountants, audit professionals, and they really carry professional liability for the decisions they make. And we want to deliver products and services that meet that highest bar of trust. And we really think fiduciary grade inclusive of 4 components. So one, it's the authoritative content. It's the investment in data security and safety. It's the subject matter experts that vet and validate the work. And then of course, it's transparent outputs that we're able to validate. And I think the work that we're doing to build and deliver that in market is really what differentiates our approach and our execution results. I thought it might be interesting to hear from Laura on how we're using that capability in legal field as well.
Yeah, how do you apply that? And I'd love to understand what the legal implications are there.
Yeah, they're enormous. So obviously AI has huge implications for the practice of law, but when you go to a lawyer, when a company goes to a lawyer, you're going to them for their substantive expertise, for their knowledge of the law and how to apply it to your situation. You can't work with AI that isn't rooted in verifiable legal data. So the difference between using AI that's unconnected to legal data, unconnected to legal expertise, can mean getting it wrong. And so we work with the professionals who need to get it right every time. And so that's what it means in practice. Courts using AI, your lawyer using AI, it has to be rooted in authoritative legal knowledge.
Okay, so the legal industry is one that obviously is brought up often in terms of AI disrupting that industry. But to what you just said, Laura, I mean, I know when I talk to my legal professionals, I'm oftentimes looking, they know me, they know our business, and they oftentimes will give us advice that I won't get out of an LLM. An LLM might be able to tell me the law. It may or may not be correct. So I have to ask you, what do you see happening in the legal industry? It sounds like you're saying, yes, everybody's going to use AI, but Thomson Reuters is going to help you use the AI in a responsible and accurate way.
Yeah, one thing we work on when we're talking to law firms or courts or government agencies, it's AI is not a monolith. You have to be working in AI that's fit for purpose. And so if it's not rooted in legal knowledge, it's not fit for legal use. Now, what's important about the lawyers that you work with? It's their human lawyering. It's their knowledge of you and your needs and your business and your industry. And so an AI is not going to bring that human layer, and what we're able to do is see lawyers adopt AI for the more mechanic parts of practicing law, capturing all the data and the knowledge in millions of emails, and then leaving the lawyer to be the one that connects with you, that stands with you in court, that gives you the support and counsel that you need when you're facing what could be existential challenges.
Okay, so you guys are a data company, Caitlin.
Yes.
A lot of times, customers would say, well, we don't want to spend money on AI, we got to get our data house in order first.
Yeah.
Many have said, it's taking too long, we're just going to go for it and have the AI help us clean up their data. I'm presuming, given that you've got a relationship with Snowflake, that your data estate was in pretty good shape, pre the AI heard around the world. How would you describe the way in which the Thomson Reuters brought AI? I know you haven't been there, since 2022, but nonetheless, you've got some historical perspective on this that you can draw on. How would you describe the way Thomson Reuters brought AI into that data estate, and how has it evolved since then?
Yes, so I joined TR a year ago. Unfortunately, my predecessors in that role really did the foundational work, the governance, figuring out our data domains, our critical data elements, bringing them into Snowflake, getting them governed, et cetera. When I joined, I really focused on a couple of things, making sure that we could accommodate for unstructured data, so all the work we did around structured and unstructured with the right row and column level security, really meaning we're giving the right access to people across the firm. And then we have a big initiative with our finance colleagues around semantic intelligence, so we've built this semantic capability on top of our platform, and really what that means is a business intelligence across all of our disparate data sources. So, for example, we historically had about 23 different data sources we needed to pull from for Customer Master to understand our customers. We were able to bring all of that together. The other piece that we've really been going after is 2026 is our year of customer obsession. So really, everything we can do to better understand our customer needs, be proactive, reach out. So again, leveraging the platform and the work we did to bring our data together. And this particular piece of work is around retention. So product usage, customer sentiment, billings, collections, renewals, all those base signals are pulled together, and now as we run our alerting campaigns and we increase our digital footprint, we're able to enable our sellers to act effectively with that insight, all pulled together. So that's been a couple examples that really have driven significant business benefit for us internally.
And can I just say that as our users are navigating their own transformation of their professions, the fact that we have higher fidelity data on which we can assess how are they using our products, where are they in the learning curve, has totally unlocked a different way of communicating with our users to help them through their AI journey.
And that's what you care about as a JD,
That is what
right?
I care about, yes.
You're not, I apologize if this is not true, but you're not a techie, or are you?
I am not a techie, but I did co-found a tech company with people who were techies.
Okay, cool. So the reason I ask that is because, Bala, we use terms like Caitlin just used semantics. We talk about catalogs. We talk about ontology. And a lot of times to business people, those don't mean anything. They care about data fidelity as an example. So tie that in, because we throw these terms around a lot. They're critical to you in terms of your product. How do you translate those into sort of business terms and business value?
Yeah, I think the good example here is that I think once you have the foundation there, I think what Thomson Reuters is trying to do is, how do you open it up to every user to use all the knowledge they have?
Democratize it.
Yes, and a great example Caitlin was talking about it is if you're running a customer 360 and people have to understand what to do with their customers. And there the semantics means, when I say revenue, do you mean revenue in the sense of every revenue professional out there in Thomson Reuters? That's what it means. And I think with CoWork and what you do is, you take away all that complexity and let them talk in natural language and get what they need out of that. And somebody behind the scenes is mapping all those things. So you know that you're looking at the right business term, you're looking at the right data, and you're also providing the right data to the right user at the right time. All of that is what is available through something like CoWork, and it's possible because of what they've done with the data estate to make that happen. And in addition to that, they have over 1,500 users using CoCo, and that allows them to also build new things on top of that data. And again, those people are builders, and sometimes they are in a particular domain or a particular area of expertise within Thomson Reuters. but the governed data layer with all that semantic views and ontology allows them to build what they need to build with CoCo without having to worry about what exactly is each of these kind of data points referring to.
So what does that mean for the business, Caitlin? I presume it's less data wrangling, less arguing about what revenue means.
Yeah.
All the coordination that goes into the old Hadoop pipeline mess. And so it gives you the ability to spend more time on some of the more strategic and judgment level, but I wonder if you could...
Absolutely, and we intentionally partnered with our finance colleagues when we did this work, because if finance says this is game changing, I trust these outputs, I'll sign off and we'll run our business and financial reporting externally off of this data, then it's at the level of accuracy that you need. And back to the fiduciary grade point from earlier, we want to model our same focus on really that high quality, right access data internally and model that with our customers.
And does it lead to self-service BI, or is that too dangerous?
No, we are very clear within AI. We've been early adopters of AI technology. We have cross-firm initiatives in which everyone is encouraged, invited to share their AI output, what they've been able to drive in terms of business results and impact. And the work we're doing on the data estate is what is enabling that. And now as we introduce, for example, more agents, it's a gold mine. So we have curated, appropriately governed data that agents can run on, and instead of having wrong answers that come from some confusion or disconnect between data terms, we've done that hard work. So that's an important part of what we've been focused on. And we've been able to move very quickly in the last couple
And
quarters.
self-serve is the future, and once you have that kind of secure governed platform, you can actually have people go and do what they need to do and remove all sorts of bottlenecks so that you can move fast.
Yeah, governance as an accelerant, that's a new thing. Okay, but Laura, so we talking about CoCo. You have a CoCo too. Well, not quite, but co-counsel.
Co-counsel, yes.
I think is what you call it.
Some call it CoCo.
I would, but I guess I won't now. But what is co-counsel? How does it all fit in here?
So before the world knew about ChatGPT, we were building the world's first legal AI assistant.
Really?
On top of that technology, yes. And since then, it's grown in Thomson Reuters, building agentically natively into the legal data, the legal expertise, and the data within litigation, within a firm's knowledge base. And so what it's become is essentially a companion that follows a lawyer through every step in the legal journey, whether it's through intake, whether it's through briefing cases, through analyzing contracts, all of that can be enabled, and it allows lawyers to spend their time doing that human work. And one other thing I'll say is that kind of a personal passion is what it's also unlocked is an incredible opportunity in expanding access to justice, seeing legal aid organizations and pro bono teams leverage AI to serve more people in need.
So Caitlin, I think about our AI tools, and I go back to 2015 when we, so maybe
automated metadata generation?
Yes, but I look back and wow, that was pretty rudimentary compared to where we are today.
Yeah.
How would you describe, so the pre-ChatGPT co-counsel, what is that, technically, and how architecturally did it evolve? Probably went through being a RAG-based chatbot, and then you're injecting a lot more intelligence into it, and maybe agentic. How should we think about that? Can you guys fill us in on that? Do you have enough technical detail, or maybe Bala could help us?
Yeah, I think what you're asking, and you're talking about several years ago when we were developing those first AI solutions.
What's the journey that co-counsel went through to get to where it is today?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll let Laura talk about co-counsel
so
specific.
Initially, when we all saw GPT-4, that was like a real inflection moment where we understood that we can point this incredibly powerful model at an authoritative source of data. So yes, RAG was an incredibly important initial tactic, but it was also the application layer, which built in legal prompting that was at a level of expertise and domain specificity that unlocked uniquely legal work. Now we're in a different stage. We're building out and in the process of launching to market the next generation, where we've basically rebuilt the brain within co-counsel to be into an agentic harness that's natively built into the legal content in Westlaw and Practical Law, which are the authoritative sources of content for the legal profession, as well as the knowledge at a law firm or in-house legal team. And so building it agentically unlocks really complex work product in a way that earlier generations couldn't satisfy.
Okay, so
And Dave, if I could build on that,
please.
one way our teams intersect in that work, which I think is so important, is just as Laura described, there's been this really incredible journey where we've pushed at the forefront of the capabilities of the product. We have a team, our responsible AI team, and before any sort of AI capability integrates the product and ships to market, we do all the robust analysis around hallucination, bias detection, anything that you're worried and concerned about in the umbrella of responsible AI. And so as it hits market, we have confidence that we have done that work and that analysis. And now we have such rich history of that data across our products as they've evolved. We've been able to really do some fantastic analysis of that as we look forward to these future releases that are coming, particularly our agentic release.
And Caitlin, I want to come back to that, and I'll tell you where I'm going. I want to understand what your vision is beyond the sort of semantic layer that you've built, but I want to come back to Laura, because you are actually kind of a techie when you use the term harness. Okay, so what do you mean by that harness? When I think of harness, Bala, I think about like a coding co-pilot or a coding agent. But is that what you mean within
Yeah,
CoCounsel?
we've built the next generation of CoCounsel on top of the Claude SDK.
Yep.
And it's put us in a position to leverage the authoritative data that Thomson Reuters has been building for decades, maybe almost over 100 years, natively into the agent, into the assistant. And so that way, you can ask CoCounsel not just review these contracts, you can ask them, develop a plan for this entire litigation and leverage the knowledge that's in various sources of data, both Thomson Reuters as well as the client, as well as the legal matter. And what it unlocks then is an agent that can build a plan for you, but at every step of the way, informed by legal expertise, and also critically for fiduciary grade AI, is verifiable at every step. So me, as the lawyer, I'm still in charge of my matter and I'm still reviewing every bit of that plan.
So, go please.
No, I was
Please
going to
chime in.
say, I think the harness part is all about system prompts, rules, domain skills. That's what makes, I think, CoCounsel special. And in terms of what you asked about where the future could be, the good news is the way I see Caitlin and Laura working together, we facilitate that even more with a couple of announcements we made today specifically. One is the Cortex Sense runtime, and then the Cortex CoCo agent SDK. So in the future, actually, CoCounsel could actually use all of that data, all of that governed data, and everything that you have in terms of context, using an SDK into CoCounsel. So that's kind of the future and the art of the possible, should you want to go there in bringing that domain knowledge even more.
Well, Sense runtime starts to get to my follow-up to Caitlin, which is, okay, what's beyond the semantic layer? You got taxonomies, you got your catalog, you got the semantic layer, and now we want to create this ontology, and we want to infer and act confidently. So where do you see that going?
Yeah, so we've delivered in production semantic for primarily our finance community and organization. We want to quickly move to enterprise scale, and so that's our immediate action. And I think we've seen incredible results, and now that we trust the output and we can vet and validate and trust that, we want to move to enterprise scale. And then that's going to be another way in which we accelerate our AI agent work. So we've been looking a lot at what does a human agent interaction need to look like, and some of the announcements today help us with that as well, so that we can effectively come with that equation and quantify the impact of that piece of work. So that's the next piece. Expand to enterprise and do the agent piece.
So Reuters was founded in 1851, and Thomson Corporation in 1934, and Thomson Reuters April 2008. So you're not a startup. So you don't have a greenfield blank sheet of paper to get AIified. What I'm interested in, so I see fiduciary grade is kind of your unique value proposition. That's what you do better than anybody else, and you're like laser focused on that. I'm curious as to how an organization like Thomson Reuters becomes so-called AI native. You can't just say overnight, okay, we're going to be AI native. It's too large. So my thinking is you go at it with edge cases, maybe like legal, but you start with a data foundation. Is that how you see, well, first of all, do you want to be an AI native company? It's kind of a silly question. I think everybody is thinking that way. And then how do you get there with a company that is, as established as Thomson Reuters?
Well, I'll let Laura weigh in on her perspective, but I think the acquisition strategy we have is an important one. Like, we are very acquisitive as a firm, and we like to acquire really deep, important, differentiated tech and talent, such as Casetext acquisition that Laura joined for. So I think there's a acquisition component to it as well. And yes, we have a rich legacy, and with that, we have customers that have been loyal with us and to our products historically, which is amazing, and we're in an increasingly competitive environment, so always asking ourselves, what can we do to deliver our best product for today? And I think that there's a M&A component to it, there's an investment in innovation that we continue to prioritize as well, but curious what you might think.
Right, so I co-founded Casetext. We were, before it was cool to do professional AI, and I will say that the reason that we merged with Thomson Reuters is the recognition that you can bring the best AI talent to bear on a problem, but if you don't partner that with authoritative, verifiable data, you're just limited in the impact you can have for individuals and industries. And so that's why we joined Thomson Reuters, and gives us an opportunity to do things on a scale and at a level of impact that we never could have imagined doing on our own. And like you said, Thomson Reuters is acquisitive. We brought on Additive and Pagero and Noetica, all very innovative companies giving professionals service that's rooted in data. And I will say, I think that our cultures and our leadership teams have come together with a new wave of leadership at Thomson Reuters that's all about moving fast and aggressively with AI, but also never losing sight of our North Star, which is fiduciary grade and trust for the professions that we serve.
So that's amazing. Congratulations
Thank you.
On that. And that's what I sort of consider. So it's almost like, maybe it's not the best example, but when IBM bought Red Hat, it was like, we're going to inject the Red Hatness into IBM and the open, right? I mean, as opposed to the old, stodgy IBM. But by bringing in startups that are AI savvy, those I see as sort of edge cases that the core can learn from, and that knowledge or that discipline sort of migrates over. You can't do it all at once. So it seems to me, Caitlin, that your challenge as the head of data is to make sure that I don't just create silos of automation, that it has to be an organizational substrate that everybody can take advantage of, and that doesn't happen overnight. How do you see that journey?
And you're exactly right, especially as we continue to acquire the companies that we just talked about, there has to be an integration path. We want to leverage the customer relationships that those firms bring us and make sure we don't disrupt that service. And what's actually put us in a good position to do is the investment that we have in the data foundation and the ability to integrate and connect and build. And then we're doing our big commercial systems design and delivery as well, and really examining all of the tools that we've integrated. And some of these we can build ourselves now, which is great. So we've been able to build on top of, and we have I would say we have a culture of people that gravitate toward tech. We have builders, they're eager to contribute in that way. We have some really good examples of building those capabilities. So
I'll add to what Caitlin said, I think which Sridhar said yesterday very well, which is, for a company like Thomson Reuters, I think your customer data, your operational data, your knowledge, that becomes the moat.
Yeah.
And that is a big one.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning this, and I can see that as a great example of how Thomson Reuters puts it to practice. So you have to bring AI to that data, which is your unique moat, unique differentiator. And I think the other thing, what you see here is, I think Caitlin and Laura actually also showing that innovation is a mindset. And I think by opening up access to tools and allowing people to go and experiment and having the right gates to have responsible AI, I think that's why AI meets the data, and that's what innovation looks like.
I do think it's all about the data, and I'll leave you with something else Sridhar said last night to us, because people are very confused right now. You look at the market, oil's up, oil's down, AI, ROI. People, when you go through these transitions, people, they get confused. I'll just say that. And Sridhar said, it's really hard to predict who's going to win, what's going to happen. Whoever wins, they're going to rewrite history and say it was always going to be this way, and they'll claim victory. That's how this industry works. But he, in an homage to Frank Slootman, he said, product market fit is a life force.
Yes.
And I won't forget that, because it's true. If you're confused, just build great products, stay close to your customers, and you win. Caitlin, give you the last word. I'll go around the horn for the last word, you guys.
Sure, I think it's been incredible what we've been able to build in a very short amount of time, and delivering the semantic work has been a great milestone. I want to move that to enterprise scale, and we have a plan for that. The work we're doing to really build the curated gold mine for our agents and the focus on data, I think will serve our internal transformation story, as well as the products that we ship to market. So it's really, I think, been an example of what we've been able to do very quickly, both internal and external.
And Laura, I see you as sort of the green shoots coming into Thomson Reuters to bring that innovation and bring that sort of AI native culture and mindset. What are your final thoughts?
I mean, there are partners and leaders across the organization that have the same point of view, and we're partnering across the organization. I will say, you made a point, that data is king, but context is queen, and it's not just the data that we have, it's really the legal expertise. It's understanding what it means to practice law, to serve a client, to work in the interest of justice. And you can't just bring AI to an industry you don't know. You can't just transform a workflow you don't understand. If you are building for one of the most important professions in the world, you need to understand how AI can make us better and serve the public interest while also doing it in such a way that's fit for purpose. And that's kind of what drives us every day.
And Bala, that is a great point that Laura just made. And that's really where things like sense come in. It's to get that context, to understand the workflow and the process knowledge. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that's not something that Snowflake was even thinking about. Yeah. And now you're clearly, moving into new areas, and that sort of is the future of the company. I'll give you the final word.
Yeah, no, I think, look, at the end of the day, data, like in a great partner like Thomson Reuters, is their moat. But once you have governed data, which is trusted, and then you have the context built around that with something like Cortex Sense, I think the opportunity is huge in terms of what we can do together. And I'm very excited about, with the tools like CoWork and CoCo, what Thomson Reuters can unleash within the organization and for their customers.
Guys, thank you so much. Very educational, inspiring for our audience. I hope it helps them take some action, and appreciate your time. And thanks for coming to theCUBE.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for watching. This is Dave Vellante for Rebecca Knight. We're here live at Snowflake Summit 2026 from Moscone. We'll be right back for day one coverage right after this break.